My first interview, and I'm really pleased to be welcoming my first expert for this week of customer service excellence. And today we're going to be talking to Chip Bell. Hi.
Good morning, Claire, and it's a delight to be with you, and particularly around such an important event.
Oh,
We need
thank
to have Customer Service Week 52 weeks out of the year, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's just incredible to have you here, and it is something that we need to really think about all the time, having the customers in the heart of our businesses, whether it's the internal customers or the external customers. So I've been following you for several years, so it's a real pleasure to have you here and to have you alive.
Thank you, Claire. I'm delighted to be alive as well.
So I just want to introduce you for those who don't know you and haven't met you before. You are a customer service guru. You're renowned globally. You've written several books which are bestsellers, including the 9.5 Principles of Innovations Service, and your latest book, which is Sprinkles, isn't it? Creating Awesome Experience Through Innovating Service. So you've been ranked in 2014 and 15 as #1 keynote speaker in the world of customer service, right? So
Right. Thank you.
you appeared in television, radio, fiction, all sorts of different magazines like Forbes and Entrepreneur, and you're obviously the founder of Chip Bell Group, which have helped thousands of businesses around the world like IBM and Microsoft. So you talk about awesome, but I think that's a real awesome journey you've had there.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah, I bet. So today what I want to share with the audience is your expertise on brand and why should businesses build a strong brand to create customer loyalty. But first, could you just give me a little bit of your background and how did you get there? What's your story? Why customer service?
Well, we've all been customers all of our lives, and I guess I studied it in school. I studied consumer psychology in school, and because I was always fascinated by how enterprises could influence the marketplace in a way that makes people buy and come back and buy again. And so that's my education was in that area. I've worked with a number of organizations. I started my consulting firm many years ago, and because I travel all the time, meaning I'm on flights every week, it gave me, and I like to write, it gave me a chance to write. So I've actually written more books than I've read.
You have. I mean, I've just published my book this year and it's taken me 3 years. So to go through the amount of books you've written, you must have been traveling a lot.
Well, I do every week. Yeah, it's been great.
Very impressive, very impressive. First of all, one of the questions that people seems to be having is they think about brand and they look about a brand as a company logo. Can you actually describe me exactly what is the meaning of a brand?
It means what you do to a cow to make sure that you know they are yours. Well, but I want to build on that because that's where we really started with the concept, branding. In most countries, industrialized countries, cattle all shared the same grazing area. And there needed to be a way to provide some identity of one cow versus another. And so the hot poker, that hot tattoo was kind of the form that we used. And so it began to form a way of identifying a particular company. But the point we sometimes miss, and the jumping off point for me as it relates to this, is it wasn't just a way to identify a cow. It was also a mark of ownership. It is not just a cow I recognize. I know when I see that green symbol, it's Starbucks. But the real goal, as it relates to customer service, is, and it's my Starbucks. It's like my cow. It's not just a cow I can identify it's my cow. And so the concept of helping customers feel a sense of ownership with a brand, not just recognition of a brand, what I call emotional branding, is probably the most important part, because I may recognize that apple with a bite taken out is obviously Apple, but I need to feel the kind of connection with the company and what it represents and the kind of experiences that I've had to say, and it's my Apple. It is my, I have a sense of ownership with it. So I think building in the emotional connection that makes people feel a sense of ownership with that entity is really the goal of branding, not just the logo.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And more so now, everything that we do is all about what's happening here. What do we feel inside, and how do things make us feel? Whether it's a picture, whether it's a music, or anything that you see or happens to you, it's what's inside will make you think differently and will make you behave differently, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
So that's the reason why would really some customers would engage more with one brand rather than the other.
Yeah, particularly nowadays, where we have so many choices, and the fact that the more choices that we have, and the smarter customers are, that they're looking more and more at the experience to make the difference. We have throughout the industrialized world, we've had over the last 50 years a major renaissance and focus on quality, and so it was a point in time in which I bought a product or service, and it might not have that great a quality, but that's the only choice I had. Now I have more choices, and I assume I'm going to get a great product or a great service or a great outcome. I like to think of service as providing me outcomes at a fair price. And so that's become more and more for organizations sort of a table stake. It's sort of a given. It's no longer a differentiator. Your product and outcome might bring the customer in, but it is the experience you create that brings them back. And it is that not only repeat business, but also how you encourage and influence advocacy. So the word of mouth and now word of mouse,
Yes.
because of social media, has become much more important. And so I again think that in today's world, that experience we create is it is the differentiator in organizations today, not the product. That's important.
Yeah.
You can't put out sloppy products or bad outcomes, and you can't charge an inappropriate price. But it's not going to be a differentiator, and it's certainly not going to be a growth creator. It's going to be the experience that does it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you actually answered my second question. I was going to ask you about, the competition and how do you make that difference. But this is it. This is the experience that you actually create that will make the difference between one and the other. And do you think, throughout your experience of talking to different businesses, larger and smaller ones, what are their frustrations or their issues when they're actually trying to build a strong brand? What's the difficulties they find?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems for large corporations is when I've got millions of customers, how do I build that kind of emotional connection? How do I personalize the experience you get? Small businesses have an advantage because they have the capacity to touch that customer in a more of an emotional way, because it's not divided up. I mean, can you imagine Walmart trying to create a tailor-made experience for just you? It's very, very, very difficult. And so I think in that sense, small businesses have a great advantage. But I think that's one of the challenges. Obviously, the labor force has always been a challenge, but I think that requires great leadership. And part of that great leadership is how do we create the standards that select the people who are going to be the best match for what we do and what we represent? How do we provide the kind of training and support and empowerment to ensure they deliver that kind of experience at the front line? So again, that comes back to great leadership. If you look at the list of the best service providing companies in the world, and then you look at which ones make the same list of I like to work there, they're all on the same list. So there's a strong relationship between having a kind of culture and an environment where people enjoy themselves and enjoy what they do, and great service. So there's a message there as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I've just wrote an article on that, and I found a study who said 63% of employees are unengaged at work. it's incredible, really. It's, you know, if you're not engaged and you haven't got staff who are happy and want to work in that company, they're never going to perform, they're never going to deliver, they're never going to follow the vision of the business, is
Exactly.
it?
Exactly.
Do you think customer expectations have changed?
Yes, very
Yes.
much so. There's no question about it. In fact, I read something not too long ago that said customer expectations are going up about 30% a year. And you say, well, how can that be? Well, here's how that can be. And I challenge organizations I work there to not think about, you know, when I am an automobile company and I make vehicles, then I would think of my competition around the product I make as another vehicle making company. But when it comes to the experience you create, you know, who creates experiences for your customer? Well, that'd be about everybody. And so what that does, because your competition for the experience is everybody, not just your industry, the customer's expectations are driven up by those great experiences in pockets of their life. And so when the express delivery person walks quickly in delivering my package, then what kind of expectations do I have for the postal service in that organization? Obviously, it looks close enough to me to make a comparison. You know, when I call a company and they answer the phone one ring, then what do I expect of other companies? You know, we go to a theme park, like, you know, obviously in the States where we'd like to talk about Disney World, but it doesn't have to, it's not just a Disney experience. Any kind of experience that treats me in a way that's distinctive, that's special, that creates a positive memory, now elevates that similar kind of experience for every other enterprise. And so I think that has changed the customer's expectations. And the other side, I think, that has made it different now is the pervasiveness of social media. Because now my word of mouth, it gets ramped up, and my reach and number of people that I can influence instantly is now gone up exponentially. Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, said in a physical world, an unhappy customer might tell 6 people, but in the cyber world, they tell 6,000.
Yeah.
And so that impact, the fact that word of mouth, I call it, word of mouth has five times the reach of word of mouth. Now all of a sudden, your customer is a much more influential person in being able to shape the expectations of others.
Yes.
And research shows customers more often pay attention to what their friends say about an experience than what the organization pronounces. And so we've always known that. But when I can touch a lot of people and communicate to a lot of people through Facebook or whatever, all of a sudden now the game changes, and that customer is much more of in a driver's seat in influencing the marketplace.
Yes, of course, because obviously their friends, their family, their circle, they trust that person.
Yes.
So they will follow that person rather than, you know, the big logo, the big advertising that the company will do. You know, if that person say, yes, go for it, they will.
Yes, absolutely.
Automatically. There was something I read in your book, which is the 9.5 principles of innovation. And we talk about adding value in customer service in general, but funny, you actually go a little bit deeper into it and you call it value unique service. What is the difference?
Well, value added, every enterprise on the planet, I suspect, knows they're supposed to exceed the customer expectations. I mean, now everybody says, you know, deliver more than the customer expects. The concept of value added has always been take what your customer expects and add more. So let's say if you were a hotel and you had a guest that stays frequently at your hotel, you might say, we'd like to upgrade you to the fancy floor. You know, a lot of major hotels have a concierge level, a high-end floor. That's a nice perk you can use. Or an airline, and you say to the customer, you've been so loyal to our brand, we'd like to upgrade you to first class. That's nice. And everybody goes, oh boy, I get upgraded to first class. But the problem with that is, in today's economics, with margins as thin as they are, I need to sell that seat in first class, not use it as a perk. I need to sell that room on the fancy floor in a hotel. And so value added is a great, generous opportunity, and we always want to demonstrate generosity in dealing with our customers. But the other piece to that is, as soon as I exceed your expectation, what do you think is going to happen next time you show up? Now I want a little bit more, and now a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Pretty soon,
Yes.
you're going to run out of room. And so I think there is an economic limit to value added. Value unique, on the other hand, is creating an unexpected experience, something that is a surprise, a delight in a way you didn't think you were going to get, and all of a sudden you got a story to tell. I can't wait to tell. One of my favorite examples is my wife bought a new car, traded in her old car and got a new car, and a week after she had a new car, she turned on the radio for the first time and discovered the service tech had programmed in her radio stations from her trade-in. Now, that didn't take long. No. That wasn't hard. That wasn't expensive. But that little touch all of a sudden created an experience. She doesn't talk about the car, she talks about the radio. And so it's that kind of, and again, we have unlimited opportunities to provide that ingenious, creative, unique, unexpected experience to those we serve. So value added is great, but again, it has limitations. Value unique says, let's look for a way to create an unexpected experience. Like, with Cracker Jacks, the free prize inside was sort of economically worthless, but emotionally priceless. It's that kind of little special touch that we all have the capacity to do. But obviously it provides a challenge for leadership, because now I got to have people on the front line empowered to not follow a script, but to do the unexpected for that customer.
And it's those little details who makes that big difference, isn't it?
Absolutely. The simpler, the more powerful. Yeah. We start getting into champagne and red carpets and helicopters, customers start worrying about how much they're paying. But it's that little thing, personalized attention that we can do that creates that story to tell and builds an advocate in your customer.
Absolutely. Totally. I agree with you there. So I just wanted you to give, can you please share 3 top tips that you could actually, that the audience and the people who are watching us today, their businesses, what could they actually do to go back in their business and put an actual practical little tip that they could put in place and could make a real difference to creating that customer loyalty, or on the brand side of it, what should they be looking to actually build that brand?
Well, I think the first, Clary, is that we need to know what the customer expects. We need to build our enterprise around, build our brand around what is it that customer matters most to our customer. And so I would recommend start by looking for ways to enhance and gain the kind of customer intelligence that leads to the insight that enables you to get the customer. Just say, I got it. I see what's important. And so it's not just understanding, it's the aha, it's the insight. What if we tried this from that intelligence? And the good news is most organizations have a brilliant source of great customer intelligence called the front line. The people who are interacting with the customer every single day. They are brilliant. They know. And if we continually ask, what are customers hearing? What are they saying? What are you hearing? What are they fussing about? What are they not happy about? Look for those if you keep asking, well, guess what? The front line starts paying attention because they know they're going to be asked. And using them as a scout, as a critical scout, I think is one that I would value a great deal. I think the second one is, just like I started with talking about the brand as being kind of a takeoff from cattle and branding cattle, not only for identity, but obviously for ownership. I look for ways to say, how do I get my customers involved we think of partnering or ownership as inclusion. So what are the unique ways I might get my customers involved? It could be just simple as asking for their feedback on a regular basis. And that's just as simple as saying, what is one thing we could do to enhance your experience when you deal with us? It's not complicated. No. We don't have to go to really sophisticated, highly researched surveys. There are lots of ways to get customer feedback. So I think involving the customer, most companies have a board of directors, right? But do we have a board of customers? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't we have a board of customers? Yeah. Why wouldn't we have an advisory group that would help shape what we do and that kind of thing? The third, you asked for three. The third one is I would look at what I did through the lens of learning. We know today's customers, particularly more so than ever before, want to keep up. They want to stay on the cutting edge. They want to learn. They're eager to, that's why they spend so much time on the internet. And so looking for ways to say, what can I do to make my customer smarter? How do I hardwire wisdom into the experience or the product to make them smarter? And there are a lot of little simple things you can do to make that customer feel like, they're keeping up and you're a resource in helping them keep up.
Yeah, I think a lot, it comes back to that real generally service and how can I help you? What is it that I can do to make you happy?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And happy enough that not only you want to come back, but you want to bring your friends with what you want.
Yes.
You want to create such an advocate there, an extension of your sales and marketing effort.
Absolutely. They love you.
Absolutely. Customer love's where it's all about.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, Chip, that was real. It was such an honor to talk to you today. And thank you so much for sharing your wealth of experience. It was really awesome to have you. So if the audience today want to download your book or if they want to know more about you, where can they find that?
All of my books are on Amazon. That's probably the easiest way. You can download them on Kindle. They're all available on Kindle. So that'd be the easiest way to do it. If you want to find more information about me, about the work that I'm doing and blogs, that kind of thing, then my website, chipbell.com. It's a website name I can remember. It's probably the easiest way. So those are avenues to enhance your learning, I hope.
Excellent. So I think just before we started, you talk about you doing a lot of traveling. Are you coming over to Europe soon? Can people?
I'm sure I will. I am in Europe at least once a year.
Okay.
Sometimes more than once. So I'd love to come to your area and visit your island. That'd be awesome.
We could do a double act or something.
Absolutely. We can take our show on the road, all around the island.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, thank you so much, Chip, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. That was really, really good to speak to you.
Thank you, Claire. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Bye.